Welcome to Behind the Tools. Here's Tradify CEO and your host, Michael Steckler.
Hi everyone. Just before we get into this week's episode, I'd like to quickly let you know about a fun competition we're running over on Instagram, the Tradify Van Games. We want you to show us what makes your van, truck, or work vehicle special. Whether your wheels are worth showing off or ready to be replaced, share a picture with us on Instagram and be in it to win cash prizes and tool bundles. Now, there are prizes for the best overall setup, the most unique, and the rig that is in need of the most TLC. To find out more about the prizes and how to enter, please do head over to our Instagram page at Tradify HQ. That's our Instagram page at Tradify HQ. Entries close on the 14th of November, and best of luck. Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Behind the Tools with me, Michael from Tradify. In this episode, we've got another family business, Astley Electrical from Barara in the northern suburbs of Sydney. I think everyone knows where Sydney is in Australia. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Morning.
And we've got Miles. Miles, you set the business up originally, and his sons, Ben and Aaron. So welcome to the show. And it's appreciate it's bright and see people get cracking in electrical businesses, bright and breezy. So it's 6:30 in the morning. Great to see you there. Maybe we'll start very, very quickly. I mean, Miles, we were chatting about this a little bit before we dived in, but where are you at business-wise with the sort of lockdowns you've had in New South Wales? How are things ticking along now? How do you feel about stuff?
Yeah, no, not too bad. We're actually, just before COVID hit, we were at a growth stage. And during COVID, we were lucky enough to keep our heads above water. I think that was probably due to, we've got quite a deep client base. I've been in the trade for a long time, so those clients stick with us. Got a client for life philosophy. So we kept our heads above water. We knuckled in. We targeted our market, who we wanted to work for. And we're back up to 100%, everybody back on board as of last week. So our apprentices are back
Cool.
and business is starting to pick up again.
Great, good to hear. And maybe, do you want to give us a kind of outline of the business and number of employees and where you're at today?
Yep, there's 3 tradesmen. That's the 3 on the screen you can see at the moment. And we have three apprentices as well. And my wife runs the office. She's just stepped in. I can hear her in the background. And we, before COVID, we had a part-time bookkeeper. And we're, depending on what happens with business, we'll probably get her back.
Yeah, great. And when did you set the business up?
It was 14 years ago. I had another electrical contracting business before that with a business partner. And it got to a point where, I appeared to be doing all the work and not getting any benefit from it. So I thought the only thing to do was to pull it in-house. And I started the family business.
And did you take any big learning from that experience of working with someone else when it doesn't work out? What would you do differently? Because I guess there's lots of people probably tuning in who are either in a business or thinking about starting their own business. Any advice you'd give around what you would have done differently to prevent that?
Yeah, 100%. How long you got? No, probably the biggest thing was I was out there doing it. A lot of experience in the trade, keeping up with technology, but I wasn't seeing what was happening in the background financially. And know your numbers. You could be the best sparky in the world, or you can think you'd be the best sparky in the world. You'd be working 7 days a week, but when you look at your books, you might be doing it for next to nothing.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And was the intention sort of Ben and Aaron to always get into the family business? When did you decide you wanted to be Sparkies? Was there a moment?
I decided before I left high school. So I actually did a year 11 and 12. I did a pre-apprenticeship through my school. I think just working, was seeing Dad work and just sort of being interested in the trade. That just sort of got me hooked. And I haven't looked back.
Cool.
And I just did a bit of labouring to start with. Didn't really intend on loving it so much, and now here I am 10 years later, enjoying every day. So it's good.
And how does it work being in a sort of working as a family? Does it work well?
Oh, lucky we hate each other. No. No, I love it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I get people ask me all the time what it's like to work, especially with your dad. And I think a lot of people would struggle. But yeah, we've never had any issues. I think we're pretty open with each other when it comes to stuff like that.
And you've sort of gone down the apprentice route, Miles. What was the intention behind that, and what's your personal? Because some businesses sort of shy away from it because of the level of investment, personal investment, in terms of getting people up to speed. But yeah, do you want to maybe talk you through what the plan is there and how you thought about that?
Yeah, there is a lot of investment, but at the end of the day, like you hear it all the time. In Australia, trades that we're a short skilled trade, electrical, and someone's got to do it. Someone's got to teach these kids. There's a lot of groups in Australia that farm out apprentices. So there's a big electrical. They're not actually electrical companies. They're like employment companies. They employ the apprentices and then they farm them out. Look, I don't find that those kids get enough experience. I shouldn't call them kids because we've even got a mature aged apprentice. A lad that's done a business degree and wants to get a trade, and we took him on, and he's going to be a real gun. I personally get a real buzz out of seeing these young men. We put them through their time. The boys, teach them, and we've got a great, we primarily do residential. We've got a great skill set from, PowerPoint, satellite dish, the full skill set, and also high-end commercial, so we give them a really good learning curve, and whether they stay with us or whether they move on, they end up at the other side of their apprenticeship. We have to sign them off, and we won't sign them off unless we think they've got the ticket to move on. And I've had apprentices over the years that are now doing, running their own businesses. And that really gives me, I love seeing that happen. Teaching the kids to keep with the trade, because it's also in Australia, it's the highest fallout trade. So they start and they don't like it and they disappear. It's also the hardest at tech as well. So we encourage them to talk to us when they've got issues at tech as well.
What do you think the driver is, people falling out so much?
I think a lot of contractors use their apprentices as just slave labour. They might be just pulling cables for weeks on end. They might be digging trenches for weeks on end. Look, that's part of the job. And when we employ somebody, we make it open and honest that we were all still doing it. I was on the shovel the other day, for a period of time. We're all still doing it. It's just part of the trade. But then the next day you might be wiring up a major switchboard. So it's just, and electrically, I think the electrical trade is the hardest because it's a skill set, I suppose. Electricity is dangerous. You need to know what you're doing, and I think a lot of the boys struggle at TAFE. A lot of TAFE in Australia is what you do at TAFE. You'll never do again throughout your whole trade, because they have to teach you pretty much everything, from winding motors to all that sort of stuff. So I think a lot of boys might get bored as well.
I was reading there's a fear of kind of a brain drain in the trades. There's a lot of older trades that have been in the business for many years start to age out, and I guess where that experience gets handed down most obvious is situations like this, right, where you're a family business, you've got your sons involved, and that knowledge gets passed through the family. But it feels like apprenticeships and doing that stuff is a really good way to kind of embed that knowledge, because there's stuff that you build up over time that you just can't necessarily learn at school. You have to be on the tools to really understand how to do those things. And I think particularly when I talk to plumbers and electricians who are doing sometimes very dangerous things, I think about the gas side of things versus switchboards, right? It's you're putting people's lives in your hands in many occasions, so it is important. And when you set the business up sort of 14 years ago and came out the other business, how did you win your first customers, or did you bring customers across that you'd already worked with and knew you from before?
I had the opportunity with my ex-business partner because I was the one that was out there, he was in the background. The clients knew me, didn't know him as such, so they all came with me. It was a great opportunity to cull clients I didn't want to work for as well. So I kept my high end clients because they only knew me anyhow, and we built it from there. I think the first job that I got that saved me for a period of time was one that I was working on at the time that I moved on from my business partner.
Yeah. And you do sort of residential and commercial. How do you sort of think about that in terms of where you want the business to be and longer term?
Do you want to answer it, Aaron?
Yeah, so it comes in waves, we've found. So 1 minute we're doing residential work majority of the time, next minute we're doing commercial. Seems to sort of go year to year, but currently we're really focused on the residential market, but we are seeing a lot more commercial come through. Moving forward, we still like that range, the commercial and residential work. I think it just gives everyone a little bit of a different opportunity, and it's different work environments too. So the boys like the commercial stuff. It's a bit cleaner, a bit easier to work on, but then they also like the challenge of the residential work because it's a bit more challenging. With everything has to be in the right place before gyprock, but whereas commercial, you've sort of got that opportunity after the fact to get an extra cable there if you need to.
Yeah. And on that, one of the questions sort of we touched on was, setting up your own trades business and why you do that. What was and I guess it's a question for all of you to some degree, what was the motivation? Some people talk about lifestyle and being their own boss. And, I had one person who their ambition was just to get a 4-day week. They haven't achieved it yet, but that was their ambition. What's your thought process there? Is there a plan?
When I started, well, I think for me it was security.
Yeah.
The ex-business partner side of things was pretty volatile, and I started it based on, well, I'm the one involved. I'm the one in charge. I have the say, and if things are tough, well, I'm the one that needs to pull it out. I wanted to be, I suppose, in charge of my own security, and that's the way I saw it. Now it's a bit different, and especially with the boys involved, and they're going great guns. They're now directors of the business, but I don't think they're going to let me leave very soon. I know that for a fact. I enjoy work. I enjoy technology. We keep up. We actually get thrown technology to play with, so we're very lucky in that respect. Yeah. And I think going back to what Aaron said with what we're doing at the moment with residential, I think that's got a lot to do with COVID and targeting a market that is going to spend some money. And
was commercial. Is that because a lot of those things are just closed up, not working, so they're not obviously getting work done?
People are working from home, so nothing's happening in offices. I thought there might have been the opportunity for people to renovate their offices or make them smaller. That doesn't seem to have happened as much. We're starting to get rumblings. I'm starting to price more commercial work, but it's not everyday commercial. We sort of target the boutique more than anything else, like the lawyer's office and stuff like that, where it's a little bit more specialised. Because it's funny, we got into commercial through residential. It was it was the other way around. We got into a lot of residential jobs through commercial, where the managing director of the commercial property liked what we did, liked what we look like, professional. Our uniforms, our trucks, all that was very professional. And all of a sudden, the managing director is wanting us to, rewire their home. Yeah,
that's often the case. That reputation you talked about, I saw it on your website as well. You talk about this sort of client for life approach. What does that look like? Are there things that you do intentionally when you say if you win a new customer in terms of how you treat them that you think resonates with them, that understand that?
Yeah, definitely. It's sometimes in business you have to spend the money, and you may not make much on that job.
Right.
But you've won a client over that's going to turn around and, but I say to the boys, you don't know who this person associates with. We don't know. We don't know who their friends are. But what we want to do is make sure that that client is going to talk about us after we finish.
Yeah.
And they might be dining out with who knows. And that person might be nervous about, and it's happened to me on numerous occasions, they might be nervous about who they want to rewire their boat. And, you know, and my name will be mentioned, or Aaron's name will be mentioned, or Ben's name will be mentioned. And then it's marketing that you want, really.
Yeah, that's great advice for people. I do think that the word of mouth still seems to be the main driver for most trades companies, right? In their local areas, you do good work, do a good job, and you know everyone's always looking for a good trades company. And you usually go to your neighbour or someone first and say, "Hey, I really need an electrician going on good." Once you've exhausted that, you might then go online and try and find someone, usually out of desperation. And you know, most of your business now is there a focus on new business, or is it predominantly word of mouth within the region you operate in? How far do you go in sort of around Sydney?
No, we've got into a fair bit of marketing. Aaron dragged me kicking and screaming to masterminding of business and marketing. That was a few years ago, and we got deeply involved in that. It was through a guy in Sydney called Kerwin Ray. And I was one to be old school, beaten to a pulp, and so I won't do that again. And we were at a stage in our business where we needed to do something, and we went and did this course, and it was a real eye-opener. In actual fact, Tradify is probably due to something that was said to me at a course where we didn't have an operating system at all. It was pen and paper, and I was encouraged to look at one, and the end result was Tradify. And I'm not peeing in anybody's pocket, but it has helped me phenomenally in getting time back.
Good to hear.
Back. But the time that I've got back at this point in time with the growth of the business, it hasn't given me that extra day to go and, you know, go skiing or whatever. What it's done is given me the time to help promote the business, which I wouldn't have been able to before, and promote it by more pricing, quicker pricing, you know, more job generation, more marketing, that type of thing.
And what, Aaron, maybe you want to talk through what prompted you to push for that, go into that course and get upskill the company in that area?
I think I was at the stage in my life where I was starting to think more future. I think I just had a kid, my first one. So yeah, I was at that stage looking ahead and sort of thinking, how can I build this business for myself and, you know, and help Dad out in that regard. So yeah, that's what drove me to do that. And I'd been following this guy for a while, and I just said, "Come on, let's have a look at what he's got to offer."
And what was the apart from sort of getting an operating system in the sort of back office of the business, what else did you take out of that changed the way you approached how you did things?
Oh, I think we've changed a lot in our approach, just the way we think about clients, how we get work, some of our systems, having little like morning huddles and stuff like that, definitely helped a lot with that. So it wasn't just a marketing thing; it was personally as well. It was a big improvement across the board.
Yeah. And you're both in the vans now, Ben and Aaron. Where are you off to? Residential, commercial?
Residential.
Yeah, high-end residential.
Are you there now?
Yeah.
Ben's looking up.
Penthouse apartment we're working on. It's pretty special. In the center of Sydney. It's unreal. The view's unreal.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that was my next question, which is what I touched on earlier, but I sort of how far do you span? You tend to go right across the whole region?
Oh yeah. Where there's work, we will go.
Yeah. What's the travel time from the northern suburbs down to where you are now?
It's good at the moment with no one on the road. But normally we can get into town in about 40 minutes, I reckon.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, so it's all right. In the afternoons it's a bit slower, but you expect that in Sydney. I mean, we have some of the worst traffic in the world, don't we? So
no, I wouldn't know. Not necessarily. Everyone in their own city or town says that, but you want to go somewhere else, you realise that no, it's actually probably not that bad. Yeah, cool. So that was a really good. I've heard a lot of trade businesses talk about working with a business coach or going to a course, and that making a really big difference in terms of how they approach things. And that's good to hear that it's changed how you approach it. And how do you manage sort of Aaron, Ben? Are you managing the apprentices? Where you take them out with jobs with you? How does that work today?
Yeah, so generally we will have one apprentice with us on a job. At the moment, Ben's got all three.
Are they all in that van? Where are they?
No, they're not in the van. I've got them unloading the car. I'm just making
they're
sure
unloading the car.
they're doing stuff. They're all right. They're pretty good. As long as they listen and do as they're told, I'm happy. Yeah.
Cool. That's right. So they're outside now unloading stuff.
Yeah. They've unloaded the truck and I think they're giving everything to the crane driver to get it lifted up to the roof. So we'll be ready to go.
Fantastic. That sounds like a cool job. Yeah,
it's probably my biggest job, I'd say, so far. Bit stressful, but you need a challenge every now and again, and this will be my biggest yet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any jobs that have gone wrong for you guys that you've learnt from, or you're happy to share?
Definitely, it's jobs where the builder's all over the place, where if a job's organised properly, there's money in it. There's always money in it. And going back to our client for life philosophy, if the builder's disorganised and we have to continually go back, we can't get a big bite at the cherry, then it becomes real haphazard. Also, there's a lot of expectations from clients that are not justified these days. I've learned to walk, actually. I've learned through that business course. I've actually learned to say, I don't think we're the right fit. I don't think we're going to be able to do work for you. And I've learned to walk. And it's funny, people go, well, where are you going? Well, I don't think we can work for you. It's just not going to work. And then they always continue. They keep coming back. If 40 years of experience, and that learnt this through the course as well. I never used my experience as a marketing tool. I was never one to big note myself, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
And if you know what you're doing and you're confident in doing it, tell people, because why wouldn't you use the bloke that knows what he's doing? We may not be the cheapest Sparkies in Sydney, and I'll say that openly, but what you get is a great package. Professional, you get rung up the day before, all that type of thing. I think that's just been, I've grown up that way. My parents taught me, to do that. Hopefully I've passed that on to the boys. No, I won't say hopefully. I have passed that on to the boys. And that course also taught us team culture. You've got to have a great team. We have toolbox meetings. We have, we have what they call we call it a Wowzer Award. So once a month, everybody puts their name in the hat of the person they think that's done the best over that month. And it goes, even the office staff, they're included, because it's not just.
Oh, cool! That's great. Who won last month?
Oh, we didn't have one.
Yeah, with COVID, it's been a bit difficult.
Yeah, trying to get everyone together.
Yeah.
They're all been double vaxxed now, which is fantastic. We sat on with COVID. We sat on many meetings with our industry heads to find out what the legislation was with people getting the jab. No one could tell us. All we could do was say to the boys, I think your best bet would be to go and get advice from your doctor. But my gut was telling me that you needed to get the jab outside of work.
Yeah.
And look what's happened. That's exactly what's happened. I think today one of our apprentices is getting his second jab, and that means everybody in the business will have had double jabs.
And you think that helps when you're out there doing work?
Yeah, definitely. But the builders are still asking us. The job that Ben informed me yesterday, they're still requesting that all trades on site get a test once a week, whether or not they've had 2 jabs or not. Which I think is great. They're the people I want to work for.
Yeah, Yeah.
They're looking after us and we're looking after them.
Yeah, good stuff. And the jobs, I'm intrigued because I think this is a common thing that people start trades businesses and they often do the work they have to do to get some customers and get some, get some revenue and get some runs on the board, as it were. When you're walking away, what's the usual reason? Is there a common set of things that you look for that tells you that someone's not the right fit?
When they're telling me what they need,
Right.
they're not listening to what they actually need.
And does that tend to be commercial or residential or both?
Primarily residential.
Yeah.
Some people's financial ambitions don't meet what their end result wants to be. Yeah. And sometimes we can't meet their financial needs of what the end result wants to be. And maybe they need to get the guy that's prepared to do it for next to nothing. And that's fine. That's fine.
That seems to be the best piece of advice. Sorry, I'm going.
Oh, we just end up coming back to fix what the other person didn't do. And then they go, I wish we got you in the first place.
Yeah, that's often the case. I mean, that's what I commonly hear is that, if something needs to be really cheap, then there's a reason for that. And yeah, those a lot of those customers aren't the customers you want. And I think a lot of trades companies do them because they want to get their first customer and have something on the website that show that they've done some work. But price seems to be one of the main drivers, right? If someone's too cheap, then it's probably not a great fit. You've been doing this a while now. You've been in business 14 years. Any advice you'd give aside from the stuff we already talked to for anyone that's watching, listening, and thinking about maybe doing the same thing, branching out on their own?
Know your numbers.
Yeah.
Know your numbers. I think I said it before. You can be the best sparky in the world, but if you don't know where and how you're spending your money, you need to know what it is that keeps the door open. What financial position do you need to be in to pay to pay everybody, and make sure you pay your suppliers on time because you need an association with them. And then you need to know if things are going bad early, so as you can then go, well, why? What's happening? And then work your way out of it. Being a trade is fantastic, Michael, because when being in the trade for so long, I've been through a lot of bad times. When the world's going bad, people still need trade, especially our trade, electrical trade. People will always need an electrician for whatever reason. And, you can always go and find work. The guys that say they haven't got work, they're not looking. They're really not. They're not out there actively enough looking for what they want to do. They're quite prepared to sit back and then whinge about, well, I haven't got any work. There's always a way to find work in a trade. You got your hands and we're very good at what we do. So if it means changing light bulbs, that's fine. Go and do it if it keeps the business going. So back to know your numbers. If you're not making money on your high-end residential job because the financial restraints or the builder effed it up, then go and target something else that makes you money. Otherwise, you might as well be fishing. Get enjoyment out of it. Why do we do this? We do it for an end result. The end result is to have a lifestyle that we want to have. And the financial benefit of what we do is we get the opportunity to do that. We enjoy what we do, and then because we enjoy what we do it well, and the end result's money. And
and when do you know you've got there? So you sort of I think it's interesting because I agree. I think the trades is a great business for lots of people to think about getting into and what that affords people in terms of regular income. That you always need trades. When do you know you've got there from a lifestyle perspective? Have you got there, or when do you know you've got there?
Good question. I think it's when you're not looking every day for the coin.
Yeah.
And the phone's still ringing when everybody else's is not. During COVID, our phone still rang, but we made bloody sure it was going to. And a lot of subcontractors that we use, even now they ring up and for a chat and they're quiet, and we're busy.
Yeah.
So I think we're at a growth stage. We're looking at employing at the moment during COVID, and I reckon that's just brilliant. But it's funny, we are trying to find people, and I think a lot of people are batting down the hatches just to find out what's going to happen with COVID.
Yeah. Great. Okay, well, we always finish on a few questions. Keen to get Ben to go and help out those apprentices.
Sorry, mate.
So, a few questions. First one, we always sort of finish the show on these, and you can answer in any order you decide. First question is, what's your go-to if you was another trade? Actually, you're all electricians. If you weren't going to be electricians, what would you pick?
I'd be a carpenter.
Yeah, I'd be a carpenter. Chippy for sure.
Yeah, me too.
I think
All three of you.
enough stuff on the weekends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's playing with wood. I extended my family home years ago, and I loved it. I wouldn't do it again, but but I love playing with wood. It's not looking at other carpenters. It's just wood.
Yeah.
It's something you can, if you stuff it up, it's easy to fix.
Yeah. All three of you. That's interesting. Actually, I had another spark in Ireland who also, in his spare time, actually does a lot of woodwork, builds stuff, and has a YouTube channel around that. And then the next question is go-to lunch. I mean, you're both on site. It's a bit early for lunch. It's more like breakfast. But when it does become lunch, if you had a choice of anything that you usually go for, what would it be?
Is it tin tuna and vita wheats, as?
Tuna and vita
A what?
Tuna and vita wheats.
that's
pretty good.
That's the standard.
Yeah. Seems to be the standard across everyone at work. All the boys
Really?
have tuna and vita wheats. No one's on their meat pie and can of Coke for breakfast, unfortunately.
Mine would be a Chico roll and a chocky milk.
Oh,
A
Jesus.
chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Chocolate milk.
Yeah. I love my milk.
Oh, do you? Oh, interesting. Okay, you're the first to get on the chocolate milk. And the New South Wales, things are starting to open up. I hope that continues. If there was a sporting event or music event you could get to first, what would it be?
If Australia rugby union, you're a Kiwi, you'd love the union.
No, I'm not a Kiwi. I'm English.
Oh, okay.
Not that there's anything wrong being a Kiwi. That was the same reaction, but I don't know if you detected the accent throughout this call.
Australian rugby game, against if they had a win against the Kiwis, it'd be great. I can't see that happening for a while.
Yeah. I don't know. They had a good win against the Springbok on the weekend.
They did.
Yeah, that was a good win.
They're coming over to England anyway soon, aren't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a moving feast. Aaron, Ben, you guys?
Oh, I'd be going with Dad to watch the Wallabies. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably just anything at the moment.
Yeah. Well, that's a
Any
fair,
sporting event.
a fair comment. That's a fair comment. Cool. This is great, and I really appreciate you getting up really early, and especially where you're working to do this. This has been really insightful, and some really good stuff in here for people that are either on the journey already or thinking about opening up their own, starting their own trades business. So appreciate it, and it's great to see a family that's thriving and passing that experience down as well. And there's a lot more of that we need in the trades, because I do think there will be this chasm as people. You're not there yet, Miles, but in 20 years, when people start to think about putting the tools down and not being involved anymore, I think you do lose a lot of that experience that people have built up and knowledge. So I think it's good that you're also doing the apprenticeships. Is really a really valuable way to fix that. Cool.
Definitely.
Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate you spending the time, and we'll chat to you soon.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
All right.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Take
Bye.
care.
Mate.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. Behind the Tools is brought to you by Tradify, job management software for your trade business. If you enjoyed the podcast, let us know by leaving a review, and be sure to tell your mates about it. Email behindthetools@tradifyhq.com if you or someone you know would be keen to join the show as a guest.